Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this session on thinking about the future, what you need to consider as your child approaches adulthood. Thank you for joining us this wet and cold evening. We hope that you are safe and well. Myself and my colleagues will do our best to keep to time to enable plenty of opportunity for you to ask your questions at the end of the session. That said, let's start with some introductions. So this session is being presented on behalf of the Children and Young People with Disability Service. We are made up of a variety of different teams, all supporting children and young people between the ages of 0 to 25 years who have special educational needs and or disabilities. It is comprised of the Children with Disabilities Social Care team for 0 to 15 years, the Young People with Disabilities Social Care team for 16 to 25 years, the Preparing for Adulthood team, which provides careers information, advice and guidance to children and young people with education, health and care plans, occupational therapy for children and young people who have a substantial and long-term disability, and then the Children and Young People Support Service, which is a short-term intervention service providing support to children, young people, their families, around concerns such as sleep, parenting support, communication, and many more. Now to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Emma Burley. I'm a lead Preparing for Adulthood advisor in Mid-Essex. That's covering Chelmsford, Braintree, and Malden districts. My colleague Richard, who I'll let introduce himself.
Hi, my name's Richard Davies. I'm the lead Preparing for Adulthood advisor for the north of Essex. So my team and myself, we cover Clacton, Colchester and Tendring area. Not here today, but also within the county are Boyan Stankovic, who's the West Preparing for Adulthood manager. He covers Harlow, Epping and Uttlesford. And also Kerry Surridge is the South Preparing for Adulthood manager. She would cover Basildon, sort of Rochford, that kind of area for young people.
Thanks, Rich. And Tabitha?
Hi, my name's Tabitha Ashbridge. I am the lead pathfinder with the Young People with Disabilities team in the mid of the county. As Emma said, covers the Chelmsford, Braintree, Malden areas. We have a Young People with Disabilities social care team in all of the quadrants. So that's one for north, west and south as well.
Thank you. So in this session, we will cover firstly aims. We're going to look at transition stages, preparing for adulthood outcomes, sometimes referred to as PFA, employment, independent living, community inclusion, good health and well-being, and then we'll have some time at the end for your questions. So the aims of this session are to clarify the meaning of preparing for adulthood and to recognise the stages of transition into adulthood, to raise aspirations and expectations and encourage thinking about what the future might look like for children from an early age, to clarify how preparing for adulthood improves outcomes, and then to provide you with resources and to signpost you to support that will help you with this process. So the term transition is used to describe the life changes a child or young person may go through. Chapter 8 of the SEND Code of Practice notes that preparing for adulthood should commence from the earliest years. So this can include moving from class to class, from early years to primary school, from primary school to secondary school, and from secondary school to college, university, work, and the community. It also includes preparing children and young people for growing up. This happens throughout their education and should help to prepare them for new responsibilities, new experiences, being independent, and also new challenges. You may not realise it, but from early years, both you and the wider community are preparing your child for the future. So in early years and foundation stage, children learn to eat, drink, use the toilet, play with others, and engage in real world play, such as mimicking, cleaning, DIY and other things. And as they continue through primary school, children start to formulate ideas of job roles based on the world around them, what their parents might do as jobs, or on their experiences of real world visits, such as going to a farm or maybe visiting a fire station. So I'm just going to play you a video. It's only about a minute long, just to show you some ideas that children have around their future employment and other aspects of their life. Just bear with me while I load it up.
So I would like to be a football player, but if not, an architect.
I want to be a baker because I like baking at home a lot. I want to be a vet.
And why would you want to be a vet?
Because I really like animals and we've got a dog at home.
And what's your dog called?
Lucy.
I would like to be a footballer, and if I can't be that, I would like to be like a swimmer.
I would like as a job to be an architect. I would like a decent house for me, a decent car. I would obviously want a driving licence for the car.
By passing my 11 plus, hopefully going to grammar, then going to college and getting a good job, and hopefully I'll become an actress.
I don't know. I want to be like an astronaut and to find some more species of fish and to go to the moon.
Okay, so throughout education, children and young people should be being presented with opportunities to develop their knowledge around the options that are available to them in the future, and which focus on the preparing for adulthood outcomes, which Richard is now going to share more about with you.
So first of all, we're going to show a quick 3-minute video explaining to everyone about the 4 pillars or pathways of preparing for adulthood. Part of preparing for adulthood came out from the SEND review, and is part of the SEND Code of Practice, is that young people would look and have access to the 4 outcomes moving forward into adulthood. So Emma's going to kindly play the video for me.
Oh, apologies, I wasn't expecting a little advert at the beginning. There we go.
The SEND Code of Practice introduces preparing for adulthood reviews and 4 key outcome areas. It states that local authorities must ensure that the EHC plan review at Year 9 and every review thereafter includes a focus on preparing for adulthood. It can be helpful for EHC plan reviews before Year 9 to have this focus too. Planning must be centred around the individual and explore the child or young person's aspirations and abilities, what they want to be able to do when they leave post-16 education or training, and the support they need to achieve their ambition. Local authorities should ensure that children and young people have the support they need to participate fully in this planning process and make decisions. Transition planning must be built into the revised EHC plan and should result in clear outcomes being agreed that are ambitious and stretching and that will prepare young people for adulthood. There are 4 outcome areas identified in the SEND Code of Practice, and they're commonly known as the 4 PFA outcomes. And the first is employment. Employment means support to prepare for higher education and/or employment. This should include identifying post-16 pathways that will lead to these outcomes. Training options, such as supported internships, apprenticeships and traineeships, should be discussed, or support for setting up your own business. The review should also cover support in finding a job and learning how to do a job, for example through work experience opportunities or the use of job coaches, and help in understanding any welfare benefits that may be available when in work. The second outcome area is independent living, and this means support to prepare for independent living, including exploring what decisions young people want to take for themselves and planning their role in decision making as they become older. This should also include discussing where the child or young person wants to live in the future, who they'll live with, and what support they will need. Local housing options, support in finding accommodation, housing benefits and social care should be explained. The next outcome area is community inclusion, and this means support in participating in society, including understanding mobility and transport support and how to find out about social and community activities and opportunities for engagement in local decision making. This also includes support in developing and maintaining relationships and friendships. And the fourth PFA outcome area is around health, and this means support in maintaining good health in adult life, including effective planning with health services of the transition from specialist paediatric services to adult health care. Helping children and young people understand which health professionals will work with them as adults, ensuring those professionals understand the young person's learning difficulties or disabilities, and planning well-supported transitions is vital to ensure young people are as healthy as possible in adult life. So these are the 4 PFA outcome areas: employment, independent living, community inclusion, and health.
Thanks, Emma.
Pleasure.
Thank you. So just for the people in this chat, the video mentioned a lot about education, health and care plans and annual reviews and having discussions. For young people without education, health and care plans, these pathways are still relevant to have discussions either in school or in another setting to talk to young people about their aspirations and the kind of options they've got post 16 and post 19 and the pathways they could take. So although it is heavily leading on to EHCPs, it's for everyone, and that's just the message I want to get across. What I'm going to do now, we're going to move on and I'm going to talk about the first pathway in detail, which mentioned employment but also covers education and training. So first of all, just got some information to pass on to you, and at the end of this presentation we do have a couple of slides with websites and links to some of these materials that you'll find useful. So the first thing to explain is the I'm Thinking Ahead toolkit. So there was a lady called Christine Towers who was commissioned by Essex County Council to produce a toolkit, which is 2 booklets. One is for families and one is for a young person, and the idea is that the family or young person works through this toolkit or workbook on different topics and chapters within. So there's a chapter on the world of work, there's a chapter on independent living, there's one about the community and accessing the community, and the idea is this toolkit or workbooks helps a young person start a conversation with their family and maybe a professional, and starts thinking about what future transitions might look like. So that's the Together Matters booklet. Education support. So with your son or daughter in school in an education setting, nationally, the government brought out the Gatsby benchmarks. So this is a sort of the government's gold standard for a world-class careers provision within all schools. So these benchmarks, it's a framework that's split into 8 different areas, and what it does, it explains to schools and to school leaders and careers leaders in school what a good career service should look like. For example, having access to business, access to employment opportunities, careers guidance, impartial information, advice and guidance. So every school should be following or working towards the Gatsby benchmarks. to embed that in the school learning alongside academic qualifications and subjects. Also within school, your son and daughter should have access to careers advice. So some circumstances, it might be a member of staff within school is qualified and trained. So myself and Emma and Tab, with all qualifications and background in careers and information advice and guidance. So it should be that if a school member or school professional is giving advice and guidance, they are qualified. Sometimes in school, they buy in a careers company or careers advisor from outside who are independent. So that's what should be on offer for your young person. Experience in the world of work. So this could be through visits. It could be through businesses coming in doing talks to students. In some cases, it could be through work experience, a 1 week or 2 week work experience placement. So there should be some kind of link to the world of work and experiences to go with that. And the other thing they should be working on within school is a CV, curriculum vitae. This will be for them to use when they're applying for jobs or they're looking for opportunities and they're contacting employers directly. And also there's a new thing that's been come out called a vocational profile. So that's a tool that examines and gathers the information about what a young person would like to do in the future, the kind of support they might need within that job role. So it will look at a young person's strengths and weaknesses. It would have information on any of their disability or difficulties and how these can be supported. And it helps, it supports the young person's journey into employment. So that document is the young person's, this vocational profile, and can it support any conversations or transitions into the world of work and employment. Locally and nationally, there are a few websites. So you've got Essex County Council has its own dedicated website with information about resources. Linked to that, you have the local offer. So the Essex local offer got relaunched, I think it was about a week ago. So it's a new look local offer, and it should have information on transport, education places, training, colleges, etc. What you also have is the National Careers Service. So this is a website which is free. There's a couple of functions that it offers. It has an A to Z of over 800 different job descriptions, so if a young person wants to be a nurse or work, be in the army or wants to work with animals, for example, you can search the 800 different careers and it will tell you what the work is like, how much money you can earn, what the entry qualifications are for that career, etc. And it can give you further information to do your careers exploration. The next thing that the National Career Service offers as well is a kind of questionnaire, sort of 50 questions you can answer. It's like a careers quiz. So it sets a load of questions that you answer, and it matches careers linked to your sort of personality and your traits. So that's another way that young people can search and see what is out there and what they could get into based on what their interests are and their hobbies and what their strengths are. The other good website you've got is the apprenticeship website, which is a national website. So a lot of companies advertise their vacancies on the apprenticeship website, and this will be where they're offering training alongside a paid job. And the training can last 1 year, 2 years or 3 years. So a young person would learn, and then would secure employment at the end of it. Not all employers advertise on the National Apprenticeship website. So a lot of the bigger employers like Barclays or maybe some of the supermarkets, they might have their own internal websites, and they would advertise their own apprenticeships there. The next place that you could go to for information is the Department for Work and Pensions. So you've got the government website and you've got your local job centre to get information about any benefits you could be entitled to, like personal independence payments. Could be when someone gets to 18, universal credit and other benefits they can claim, access to work as well. And the last website, which is a sort of general and it's good to use if you need any support or help, is Citizens Advice. So they could give you free information on your sort of legal standing. If you've got any issues with finance or at the moment, especially with heating and bills and accommodation, you can go there and get some free impartial information and guidance from them. Cheers, Em. Okay, so I'm just going to talk to you in detail about the different pathways that your son and daughter can consider when they're looking at leaving school or a college. So the first one would be education. So, for example, in Essex, there are a number of mainstream colleges. So, for example, you've got the Colchester Institute, there's Chelmsford College, you've got Suffolk Rural College, Harlow College if you're from the west of the area. These particular colleges offer a range of courses. So, for example, they have supported studies department, and they offer courses linked to employability skills, life skills and independence skills, and all the way up to courses to do with performing arts, mechanics, graphic design, computer games design. So you've got a whole range of qualifications that a college can offer. These courses can be a year long, up to 3 years long. And if you are looking at going on to college, or a young person go to college, it's not like school where it's 5 day a week attendance. It's normally 2.5 to 3 days a week attendance if someone goes onto a college course. The next option to consider is a traineeship. These are offered by training providers within Essex. This is where a young person would study maths and English and some employability skills, and they would then do a minimum of 70 hours work placement unpaid with an employer. At the end of that work placement, that could lead to a job interview and to secure employment with that employer. The next option is a supported internship. This is more of an educational offer. So these supported internships are offered by colleges, as I've mentioned already, Harlow College, Colchester Institute and Chelmsford College, for example. This is where a young person would go to college 1 or 2 days a week, would study their core skills, so numeracy, literacy, telling the time, having a bank account, independent skills as well, and then they would be placed with an employer to undertake work experience placements. The placements could be with one employer, or it could be over a period of an academic year. It could be with a number of employers. And the idea is that once they've finished the support internship, they've built up their experiences and skills to maybe look for work, or they could end up securing a job with the employer that they've just done the internship with. Okay. Next option you have is apprenticeships. This is where, as I mentioned, you've got the National Apprenticeship Service, or you've got where you contact employers directly and look at their own apprenticeship schemes. This is where you work for an employer, you get paid a wage, and at the end of it, it would lead to a job and a qualification. Normally, apprenticeships in the mainstream are advertised for young people, and they're asked for a minimum of GCSEs grades. I think it's 4 or 5 in maths and English. The government have brought out a new scheme alongside this, and they've called it an accessible apprenticeship. This is where a young person with maybe additional needs can access an apprenticeship at a lower qualification level, so at entry level 3 qualification. The apprenticeship could be made longer, so rather than 1 or 2 year apprenticeship, it could be made into a 4 or 5 year apprenticeship. And also it could be that the hours are reduced. So for some young people who can't cope with, say, 37 hours a week, it could be that the employer reduces that down to 15 or 25 hours a week. So there's a new thing called an accessible apprenticeship, and it is for adjustments to be made for people with disabilities to have an equal pathway into an apprenticeship program. The next option you have is supported employment. So in Essex, we have ECL, or Essex Cares Limited. They offer a supported employment program. So a young person or family can apply to them directly at the age of 18, as long as the person has a disability or autism. They would then take your application, they would come and do a home visit So an employment consultant from ECL would come out to the family home. They'd find out from the young person where they want to work, the job they want to do, how many hours they would like to work. And the idea is that the employment consultant works with the family and young person, helps them secure a job, and then would work with the employer and young person for up to a year before they pull away. So it's a complete supported employment package that's available as well. And the last sort of pathway is employment, as we've mentioned. So this is where a young person could go into voluntary employment and volunteer to build up their experience. It could be that they go and get a part-time job or a full-time job, which is paid as well. Most of the websites that we use are indeed.co.uk, and we search vacancies for young people. There's another website called Job is Job, which is useful. You also have the Job Centre website that has vacancies that you can look at as well. And it could be that if you're in your local area and you'd like to see what's available, that you might want to use the Yellow Pages online directory called yell.com, and you then search for employers in your local area near to where you live, and maybe contact them directly asking about employment. The other option you have in Essex is that in most towns there are employment agencies or job agencies where a young person, normally 18 plus, can actually go in with their CV, sign up to a job agency, and the agency would then offer them, or they've got contracts with employers that have got temporary or part-time or full-time work, but most of it's on a temporary basis. So that's another way that a young person could get employment in the future. So just to summarise, those are your kind of main options moving forward. I'm going to hand you over to Tab now. He's going to talk to you through the next few pathways about preparing for adulthood. Thank you.
Lovely, thanks, Rich. Yeah, my name's Tabitha. I'm the lead pathfinder for Young People with Disabilities Service, and I'm going to talk to you tonight about independent living. Rich has already taken you through quite a lot of the local resources and national resources. So we've spoken about on Thinking Ahead Toolkit, which is for the young person. The Thinking Ahead Guide is for families to work together. We've got local and national support websites. We've got Essex County Council website. Within Essex County Council, we have a local linked support team who work from Harlow, Colchester and Braintree. It's for people that are 18 plus, don't have eligible needs under the Care Act, so aren't open to social care, but maybe need a few more support, a bit more support in the community for things like housing, work, employment, community access, and they're there for short-term piece of work to be able to link your son or daughter to more local community groups, and then be able to get support through them. We've also got the Department of Work and Pension around benefits. If when your young person's ready to move out, we're going to potentially claim in housing benefit, or they might need to look at universal credit. So really good source of information around what benefits are available at the time. And in work benefits as well. Citizens Advice Bureau obviously can give independent advice on lots of different areas of independent living, from utility bills, if things are mounting up, to tenancies, and to benefits advice as well. And we also have the Preparing for Adulthood NDTI national website as well that can be looked at. So we're going to just go into a little bit more detail about independent living. As we've said throughout the whole presentation so far, we prepare our young people for independent living from the moment they're born. Really, everything that we do is around preparing your son and daughter to build up their skills. And one of the things that we kind of think about when we start planning is around that person-centred planning, because what your son and daughter might want is possibly different to what you would want for them. So it is really important that we start planning early, if that's something that you're wanting to think about, particularly if there are additional needs that need to be considered. The I'm Thinking Ahead toolkit is really good workbooks to work through. It's got some really great ideas about, you know, how your young person wants to live, who they want to live with, where they might want to live, location. Is it a flat? Is it a house? What kind of amenities do they want to live nearby? And what's really important to them? So, for example, I have a young person who I've been working with who's really important to be near an airport. Other young people just want to be on a bus route. So it is about that person-centred planning, and only you and your son and daughter will know when the time is right to start looking at that independent living pathway. To get to there, we need to think about all the skills that your young person's going to need. So starting off right from the very beginning about getting snacks for themselves. Can they make a drink? Do they make their own packed lunches? To maybe some more, you know, more skills aimed towards independent living, shopping skills, cooking skills. Can they do the laundry? So all those kind of skills that we would develop for all of our children is exactly where we need to be going for, even for people with special educational needs as well. There are a lot of independent living options available. We can there's option to buy, option to privately rent, options to talk to local council to get onto the council register, and maybe for social housing. Within social housing, there is also some additional support around ward control placements, or there might be more charities like Swan Housing, for instance, who has more supported options with key workers. If your young person maybe needs a little bit more support and maybe has care needs, then we could go down a supported living route, where maybe 2 or 3 young people live together in a home in the community, and we have care on site kind of during the day and at night. So there is a very broad options in terms of independent living. Friendships and support networks are really important throughout life, but also very important when it comes to independent living. Moving out of home is quite daunting for a lot of our children when they first move out. I know I was very daunted, but when we have friendships and support networks that are already there, then it doesn't feel quite so difficult, because yes, we're moving home, but the outside friendships are still there and they're still thriving. So it's really important that a young person has that friendship group available to them. Assistive technology we use quite a lot in independent living, and most of us have assistive technology. We might not think of it as assistive technology. Things like our mobile phones, Alexa, Ring doorbells, all of these are considered assistive technology and support for independent living. There might be more specialist things that might be needed. So for example, magic plugs. If your son or daughter leaves the tap on maybe a little bit too long, then we've got things like magic plugs that can be used. We have things like key safes. So if a bit more forgetful, there's a key in a safe outside the door that can be used for emergencies or for them to get in and out, use there. And there are more advanced things like door sensors, so that people can be still independent, but carers would know then if a door was opened, and then can just double check that everything is safe. When we're thinking about independent living, when we're coming up to the age of 18, well, 16 to 18, there is the Mental Capacity Act comes into play. Some of our decisions at 16 may not go with what our parents believe. If we have the mental capacity to make those decisions, then at 16 we're able to. If we don't, or there is a doubt that there is that somebody doesn't have capacity to make a decision, then we would have to do mental capacity, or mental capacity assessments would be completed. And the reason this is important for independent living, particularly at 18, is around signing tenancy agreements for our young people, and also paying bills, managing finances, If a young person maybe needs a little bit more help, but is able to say that they want mum or dad to help them, or aunts, uncles, then something called lasting power of attorney can be applied for. And then, as I'm sure all of us have been in the situation with utility companies, unless you're the actual person that is the person that's actually it's named as their utility, then other people can't speak to them. Whereas if you have lasting power of attorney, then you can then manage that on behalf of your son or daughter. Obviously, there might be more Care Act needs, or needs of your son and daughter, that might need a further assessment. And under the Care Act, then you obviously at the age of 18, they can you can request an assessment. Yeah, next slide, please, Em. Brilliant. Getting ready for community inclusion. A lot of these things are already been mentioned before, so I won't go over too many. Obviously, we've got the I'm Thinking Ahead toolkit. I know Richard's already mentioned the Gatsby benchmarks, vocational profiling. We have post-16 transport and travel training. So within education, if your young person is having to go to a college option, post-16 transport can be applied for through Essex County Council. And we've also got Essex travel training, where in schools independent travel on public transport should be encouraged as much as possible. If schools aren't offering that, then please do ask. Essex travel trainers also have a website that you can also have a look at. After schools clubs, very important for community inclusion, and also friendships, and finding hobbies and interests that are really important for your sons and daughters. Local and national support that we have include Essex County Council website. The Living Well Essex website is run by Essex County Council. It's got lots of activities, groups that your young person might be interested in, and just gives a variety of the things that are available within Essex. Snap Directory, again, is a local website run by Essex, usually for younger age group, but again, lots of different activities and groups that are available. Essex Youth Service is available. The National Citizenship Service, this is a for 16-17-year-olds, and it's run by it's a government scheme to encourage confidence, build confidence, and it includes community service and some residentials as well. Sports for Confidence and Active Essex, run by OTs within the Live Well Essex, and they're in sports centres throughout Essex. Builds confidence, builds friendships, and offers a sporting, healthy living opportunity. Brilliant for young people just to build them confidence. Short breaks for disabled people, again, the website can be looked at, and short breaks can be applied for. It includes things like beach huts, caravans, activities, day centre provisions, and some clubs and activities. And local link support team, which we've already spoken about, which is for the 18+ who maybe don't qualify for social care support but still need a bit more support. So community inclusion, again, we're developing independent skills all the way through our lives. So things like crossing roads safely, using crossing safely, road and stranger danger, all of those skills for community inclusion. Friendships and relationships, I'm going to talk about in a minute, but they're also very important. We have assistive technology. Again, one of our biggest assets that we have, that most people will have, is a mobile phone. So it's really important if we can get our young people to be able to use the mobile, program their numbers, be able to call somebody in an emergency. We also have lots of apps that you can use. One of them that I can think of is Brain in Hand, which is a great app on your phone and it just gives a bit of reassurance about what to do next if a person is struggling. So, for example, if a bus is late, and we know that that's one of the anxieties that people have, then they can press the button to say what happens next, and then the message would come up, we wait for the next bus. So it just lowers those anxieties. Friendships and relationships is, again, very, very important for young people. And in today's world, virtually and in person. A lot of our young people that we work with have friendships on Xboxes and through social media. It's really important that we, through schools and through family, and give as much information about keeping safe online and around all forms of relationships, sexual relationships, being appropriate in relationships and friendships, and making sure that, you know, we're not taken advantage of and abused. We've spoken a bit about travel, training and transport. A lot of our young people also think about driving licences. When's the right time to apply for a provisional licence? Do we need some extra training around driving? And there are companies out there and the DVLA who would be able to advise and guide you on whether your son or daughter would be able to learn to drive. We've spoken about activities, interests and hobbies before, and how important it is for us to get those community activities. A healthy social life is really important. We've spoken already about volunteer and citizen advice. Richard's already mentioned that, and employment. And again, we've talked, just speaking just about the Care Act criteria. Again, a lot of our young people might need a little bit more support around community inclusion, and that's when maybe a referral to social care might be needed if there is additional support needed. Good health and well-being. Again, we've got lots of information here about I'm Thinking Ahead Toolkit. Rich, you might need to help me with the education support, because there's lots on here that probably schools do. If you could help me through that one.
Yeah, so PSHE is personal, social, health and emotion lessons. So every school should have a PSHE program within their timetable. So, for example, it will have, they would have lessons on drug and alcohol, sexual health. It could be about the world of politics and voting. It could be about the local community. So anything to do with their sort of physical, social and health and mental health as well. There's lessons around that to teach and equip young people with skills and information. Sexual health is mentioned. Child sexual exploitation. So there should be lessons around being safe online, not being sort of groomed, etc. And that should be covered within the curriculum. You've got emotional health and well-being. So this is someone's mental health. So we work with all three of us work with a range of young people with disabilities, and on top of that, especially in light of COVID, young people are suffering from depression or anxiety, low self-esteem or low confidence, and this impacts on their daily life and their future aspirations. So emotional health and well-being is an important subject moving forward. As well as that, we've got healthy eating. So looking at what a young person would eat, I know in some cases, if someone's maybe got an autism diagnosis, they have a limited diet, or they choose to eat particular foods that are a certain colour or texture, but we try and promote healthy eating alongside healthy mental health as well. As well as that, you've got counselling and mentoring. So most schools and college have got in-house counsellors and mentors. I know some schools have got they recruit people from business to come in, and they one-to-one match them with a young person that needs a bit of mentoring to try and boost their self-esteem and their confidence and help them with their coursework. I know that happens in some mainstream secondary schools, and also that supports the young person's journey and raising aspirations. Being safe online, we mentioned already, and drug and alcohol awareness we've mentioned, because that should all be part of the PSHE lessons within a school setting. So when in school in general, apart from their focus, which is on qualifications and attainment, alongside that, they should have a very good, robust careers program, They should have a really good, robust PSHE program, which includes sexual health, online health, mental health, healthy eating. So this should all be part of your education package for your child moving forward.
Lovely, thanks, Rich. And then we have obviously the local and national support. So again, Essex County Council, GPs, school nurses, the integrated care boards that you probably would maybe know them as the CCGs. All of those are there to support your son or daughter as they grow into adulthood. The child and adult mental health services are very important at the moment. Child and adolescent adult safeguarding boards, again around safeguarding, could be exploitation, it might be drugs, it could be safeguarding around relationships. So that's there to support. We've got advocacy services where maybe your young person wants more of an independent voice, and we can there's advocacy services that can be referred to. And then we've got Prevent, which is the Essex Police's around radicalisation, and again that can be looked at and referred to at any point. So good health and well-being, developing our independent skills around there. We're thinking about things like self-hygiene, washing, showering, keeping ourselves clean, toileting, all those things that we develop over the years. Ownership of appointments, so things like GP appointments, you know, we always kind of forget about, you know, how does a young person make a phone call to the GP? How do they book their own dentist appointment? How do they go to a GP or dentist appointment? Do they go in on their own? So it's all those skills to develop. Healthy eating, which has already spoken about, and about cooking, understanding healthy eating, cooking healthy food, exercise, and making sure that health and mind are in a good state. All young people with special educational needs should be offered an annual health check at their GP. So it's something, if you haven't, maybe talk to the GP about. Carers also should have good health and well-being. Very, very important that as carers for people with maybe additional needs, then your health and well-being is also very important. Just to point out that if you are a carer, then if your young person reaches the age of 18 and that you would like a carer's assessment, then this can be asked for from adult social care. Good health and well-being around assistive technology. Again, things like Alexa are really good at reminders. Have you showered? You know, the sequencing of showering, if that's something that's a bit of an issue. Mobile phones, all of that is really good for good health and well-being. Again, friendships, relationships. I think we've spoken about hobbies and interests and social life quite a lot. Financial, managing money. Having money for our sons and daughters and young people is very important. Having a job, being able to manage that money, spend money. So start with pocket money. How are we managing that? How are we budgeting money? And again, that all forms part of good health and well-being, as well as merging into other areas. But it is just about those things. Have they got a bank account? Has your son and daughter opened a bank account yet? Can they use a bank card? Are they safe using a bank card? Do they know the rules of using a bank card? So those are all the things to start thinking about. Volunteering employment, Rich has already spoken quite a lot about. Accessing the local community and being participating in a sense of belonging. Again, that's really good for our health and our mental well-being. And when we see young people that are maybe not doing that, they feel isolated, they don't feel part of the community, they don't want to, you know, get a job, they just become a little bit low in themselves. So being out and about and being part of a community is really important. And again, we've got around the Care Act, if you've got a young person that maybe their health and well-being isn't particularly good, or they need more care needs, then you can obviously look at the Care Act post 18. And if you've got a child under 18, then there is options there under the Children's Act. But we've also got things called continuing care and continuing health care. If we have young people that are have very particular health needs that can't be managed by community GP, local nurses, and health professionals. If it's a more specialised and a more complex health need, then there is continuing healthcare for children and continuing health for children and continuing healthcare for adults. And that might be something to explore and talk to your GP, or if you do have a social worker, if that may be something that you think might be useful for you.
Cool. Thank you. I've just realised, so I apologise, but on my slide under education, I forgot to mention sixth forms and young people studying A levels as well as college courses, and the fact that a young person with disabilities can move on to higher education and study degrees. And there is support for young people at universities. All universities have got a student support department. I've visited about 4 or 5 this year with my daughter, who's looking at going on to uni next year, and we've all had, each visit I've done, there's all been presentations on support for people with disabilities in higher education. So I apologise for missing that earlier on, so sorry. So for this particular slide, improving outcomes for who and why. So just to explain why Tab, Emma, myself and the wider Children with Disabilities team are doing what we're doing. All the work we do is to prepare and plan and implement future resources, options for young people within Essex, and opportunities for young people within Essex as well. So, for example, the first reason of why we do what we do is to meet the raising participation age. So the government, a number of years ago now, advised that a young person should stay in education for up to 2 years after they leave school. They should be in some kind of education, whether that's a sixth form, a college course, or an apprenticeship. This was to raise attainment nationally in people getting maths and English, and also to raise qualification levels throughout all young people. So that's the first reason why we're doing what we're doing with our client group.
Just conscious of time as well, Rich, perhaps we'll just pick a couple of these out,
Okay.
but we'll kind of read through them. So reduce the number of young people with SEND not in education, employment or training, to support the SEND agenda, to provide information to support the social care predictive budget planning. So every year as a service, we forecast and predict the children and young people with disabilities service budget for the following financial year. This considers anyone who is 18 or due to turn 18 during that financial year, and considers what their situation is and the kind of package that they might need in place. And that can include things such as daycare, personal assistance, respite and residential living. Rich, do you want to touch on the next one?
Yeah. Also, we attend as a team, we attend post-16 transition meetings within colleges. This came out of COVID. So when a lot of young people were told to study at home virtually and not to be in school, and there was a lot of issues around transitioning from school to a college or to a post-16 or post-19 setting during COVID. There's a lot of anxiety, obviously, because a lot of colleges were not open for visits. So what happened was that we arranged with colleges back in COVID to have meetings and to look at prospective students who had applied. So the colleges told us about the applications. We advised on the information that sort of we knew to support that young person's transition, and then any young people that we were expecting to apply that hadn't, then we could follow them up and off for an extra service as a mop-up. These meetings since COVID are now happen every year. So as a preparing for adulthood team, we meet with the colleges every year now, starting around about Easter time, sort of April, May, and start planning all this transition work for September.
Yeah. So we support the monthly SEN report and other statutory reporting mechanisms. So the Department for Education requires local authorities to fulfil a duty to guarantee that an offer is made by the end of September for an appropriate place in post-16 education or training. And the activity survey is something that we do. It's sometimes known as a destination survey, but we will make tracking calls to all of our Year 11 young people with SEND to check what they are doing at the end of Year 11. For some, we know they will have transitioned or carried on in their current education provision, but for others, we will obviously conduct tracking calls.
Yep. And ultimately as well, in terms of developing new initiatives in Essex, the information we gather, all the work with young people, that we can feed that back into our managers to look at a service offer. So, for example, the Gold Play project is a supported accommodation complex within Chelmsford. This is where a young person would have a job with an employer and is supported, and also has the accommodation of the Gold Lay flat alongside that. Also, as we mentioned here, the NHS supported internship program. So we have got links, or historically we've got links with Basildon Hospital, and this is for people 18 to 25 years of age with an education, health and care plan. And the idea is that they would work within an NHS hospital like Basildon, and they would taste a number of different settings and departments, and hopefully that will lead to employment within the NHS. They are now running the initiative out of Broomfield Hospital. This is the first year for Chelmsford Broomfield Hospital to run the support internship programme. There is a view to running it from the Queen Alexandra Hospital in Harlow as well, and hopefully that in the future that'll be rolled out to Colchester General. So these are just a few of the projects that comes out of all the work that we do.
I can introduce this, Rich, seeing as I'm doing this. So before we finish for questions, and we're going to apologise for running a couple of minutes over, we just want to share with you a video about our Meaningful Lives Matters programme, which is our scheme aiming to improve the lives of people in Essex with a learning disability and or autism.
The Essex Meaningful Lives Matter programme has a simple mission: to ensure adults with learning disabilities and or autism feel fulfilled and included in society. Listening to feedback, and by recognising that every person is unique with their own obstacles and aspirations, we've been able to tailor our commissioning and social support to provide a truly person-centred offer, allowing our citizens to find fulfilment in life in a way that we just couldn't offer before. People want to have their own front door, to have paid work, to have friends and romantic relationships, and to have the skills and confidence to feel included within their local community. Through our collaborative transformation programme, we've helped people get into accommodation, employment and their communities, which very much chimes with the outcomes of the Essex County Council Adult Social Care Business Plan, enabling people to live their lives to the fullest and reduce inequalities. This also supports the Council's levelling up ambitions for Essex. The programme is being extended to include those with physical and sensory impairments, and the Meaningful Lives team are really excited to see the impact that we can have on this community. This film highlights the success stories of people we work with, showcasing the quality and innovation that comes from the many teams that make up the programme.
My family and my sister are really proud of me because they didn't think I could get a job. By the time my mum and he was filled, literally she wanted to cry because he was really happy.
Getting the flat, felt proud, proud.
Anthony's really helped me to get out more and get my life back on track.
Meaningful Lives Matter is brilliant because it helps people with autism try and do an amazing job.
My mum passed away and I always relied on her, and now she's gone. Now, because I'm in supported living, I do more things on my own. I cook on my own, do the washing, and also you can watch anything on TV without someone turning it over.
Without this, these young people would either remain at home or they would go into quite difficult, risky situations.
Adam was referred to us, and Adam told me what he wanted to work on, which was his confidence and being able to travel independently. He's now made new friends, and he's enjoying everything that he's doing.
I used to rely on my family a lot. My mum's really happy now. I get out more and that.
Working with Rock Kitchen, I would like to show that I'm doing a good job working here. So then I know that I'm on the right lines of where I would like to go in the future.
Having a job is more than just earning your money, which is really beneficial, but also it brings a whole raft of social skills. It creates opportunities to be part of a team and part of something wider, part of the wider community.
Emily's journey is amazing. When Emily first started, she was quite quiet, and as she's grown through that, she's obviously more confident. She's never stopped smiling now. I know that she has a more active and fulfilling personal life. She's at festivals, she's had her first holiday with her friends.
Being in my team, it makes me feel happy and getting paid and learn new things.
It really just does give them the confidence, the pride in themselves to be able then to grow, develop and be able to live real, independent, meaningful life like all of us want to.
I can't really explain it. It's really heartwarming.